high price of airline tickets. There are bargains to be found, maybe not for you, although you're paying for them. Cheap tickets to out-of-the-way airports are part of a federal program using your tax dollars to keep small rural airports open and perhaps cater to some special interests. Our Lisa Fletcher shows us why some think these flights are just a plain waste.
These were the days people said, auto cars? Not practical.
That was America in 1954.
Airplanes aren't an occasional sight anymore, they are common.
It's why Congress passed the Airline Deregulation Act in 1978.
Airport expansion must be considered. Longer runways, future parking space, and more hangars.
The law allowed airlines the freedom to decide which markets to serve and what prices to charge. But lawmakers worried that smaller rural towns might be forgotten as airlines moved to larger, more lucrative markets. So they approved the Essential Air Services Program, or EAS, as part of the Deregulation Act.
Well, it's the least essential program in the entire federal government.
For 9 years, California Republican Tom McClintock has been fighting to eliminate EAS.
Rural life has great advantages. It also has some disadvantages, but it is not the job of hardworking taxpayers who choose to live elsewhere to level out the differences.
It shells out up to $1,000 per ticket in subsidies to pay for empty and near-empty planes to fly from small airports, usually which are within an hour's drive of a major commercial terminal.
Is part of the controversy with this issue who's defining essential?
Very much so. We have line of sight from
Mike Sestari is Chief Commercial Officer with Southern Airways Express. They fly to 22 cities. 12 are subsidized routes.
We think our job is to be efficient with the use of the Essential Air Service funds and to work closely with our communities to see that the customer base grows in these communities rather than shrinks.
EAS subsidizes 115 rural airports in the lower 48 states. In 2012, the Department of Transportation spent $193 million on EAS. In 2014, that number rose to $268 million, spending roughly $977 per passenger.
Is taxpayer money what's being used here?
Basically, this program is funded by user fees. There's a program where international airlines that overfly the United States pay a tariff. That partially funds it. And the rest of it comes from various ticket taxes and the likes.
That's absolutely wrong. About $150 million a year comes directly out of the U.S. Treasury, paid by U.S. taxpayers. The balance comes through higher prices that other airline passengers have to pay for their tickets in order to subsidize these near-empty flights.
To receive EAS subsidies, the communities have to be located more than 200 miles from the nearest large or medium hub airport. But there are exceptions. We booked a flight from Baltimore to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a distance of only 90 miles, but still an EAS subsidized flight. The ticket cost us $49, including taxes. Without subsidy, we would have paid roughly $200.
This flight's going to take us 40 minutes. Had we driven, it would have been an hour and 45 minutes. This plane holds 8 passengers today. It's about half full.
In Lancaster's situation, it's our dream that we get off of Essential Air Service eventually.
David Eberly is director of Lancaster Airport.
I think every airport has its own story. They need to look at what service is provided through that Essential Air Service, how many flights a day and where that flight's going to and what does that do for that community. And then the impact if it's pulled.
EAS was originally only designed to last 10 years, but with every new Congress, the legal battle over EAS is given new wings.
It's the canary in the coal mine. If we can't cut this ridiculous program, then we have no chance of bringing our spending under control before we bankrupt our country.
An airline so reckless with its funds would quickly bankrupt itself. Well, the same principle holds true of governments.
Nearly 40 years later, it continues to be the center of debate.
What's the hang-up?
The hang-up is that Congress, I think, is congenitally unable to pronounce the word no.
Now, for the record, we wanted to fly back from Baltimore the same day. That flight was actually full, so we drove back, and it took us about 90 minutes with a little bit of rush hour traffic.
So you're not saving that much time to fly?
Not so much.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.